What's up? So today I'm going to show you guys a clip here in a second that's going to explain this video. So watch this clip real fast. I'm going to attempt to change the alternator in the C10. So a couple weeks ago I drove the crap out of this truck for like a weekend. Where's the keys at? Because I had a garage sale and I was moving a bunch of stuff. Well, it started acting weird, like trying to start, and this is what ends up happening. That right there. So after racking my brain trying to find problems or trying to find the problem, I went and had the battery and alternator tested, which I should have done in the first place initially, and it would save me a little bit of time. But I had the battery and the alternator tested, and the battery came back great. The battery, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall. The battery is only like a year old, I think, and the alternator came back bad. So I went to Pirelli's and I bought an alternator. This is kind of their cheap version. They had two versions. One had a lifetime warranty, one had a 2-year warranty. I got the one with a 2-year warranty because honestly I don't plan on keeping this thing for probably even that. We're gonna swap it out. This is the first time I've ever done it, so I'm not gonna video the process because I have no clue what I'm doing, but I've watched a couple videos online, and the good thing about crap like this is I need to document how it looks right now, take it out, and pretty much put it back, this new one, in exactly how the old one was. We'll get back with you guys after it's swapped. So as you saw, my alternator was bad. I kind of had a plan of showing exactly, you know, what went into changing the alternator, but it was my first time doing it, and I just kind of wanted to concentrate on doing it right. So I'm going to show you guys real fast. First, I'm going to see if this starts. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I did to change it, kind of a step-by-step. We're going to prime it. Alright, so started right up. I'm going to need to tighten the alternator belt. Hold on just a second. That's a good sign. That means the alternator's working. New alternator's right there. I'm going to show you guys everything I did in a second. God, it's freaking loud. I'm going to have to tighten the alternator belt. It's pretty tight right now. I thought I got it pretty tight, but I'm going to need 2 hands to get it as tight as I possibly can. Good Lord, that is really loud. So going back here, I'm going to show you guys what I did, some trouble I had, and hopefully it's going to help anybody who's never changed alternator in an 85 C10. Before you do any of this, you want to disconnect the ground wire from your battery. So what I did, I disconnected this, I tucked it up in here to where it was, you know, up to about this part right here. It wasn't touching anything metal, didn't have a ground, so the red or the hot wire didn't have any kind of power because there was no ground being made. As you can see, the belt, ooh, that's pretty warm. It's pretty tight. It's actually really tight. I'm impressed with myself that I got it that tight because usually it takes 2 hands. So here's what we did. First and foremost, the bolts that I undid is I undid this bolt right here. This bolt right here is going to make your alternator move that way or this way. That also is what's going to help tighten and loosen this belt. So the first thing that you want to do is undo this and take this belt off, at least this pulley right here. After you do that, you're going to have more room to work with your alternator, so take this completely out. And then you're going to undo this bolt down here. It's going to be hard to see. This bolt, oh that's hot, right here. And you're going to slide the bolt all the way out, and the bolt, no lie, is about that long. So after you slide that completely out, you're going to tilt, actually before you slide that completely out, you're going to tilt this up and you're going to slide that completely out, and you're going to be able to remove the alternator. Before you take the alternator completely out, you want to undo this plug right here, and you also want to undo the positive connection right here. It should have some kind of cover over it. You just slip that off. You undo a nut, and then it's going to be able to take the terminal off, much like a battery. Like I said, kind of recapping, you want to make this loose, take it completely out, tilt the alternator this way, go ahead and unplug this right here, undo your hot wire right there, and then take this bolt down there out, and it's very, very long. So once you take it out, This is the old alternator. The old alternator looking like this. You're gonna have a, I'm just gonna call it a bracket because that's literally what it is. It's a little bracket that bolts on right here, and it's gonna be about that long, and that's what you're gonna put that big bolt in that I was showing you a second ago. So you're gonna remove that from the old alternator and put it on the new one. You do it exactly how it looks. The neat thing is if your alternator is somewhat new, like I don't know how new this one is, but it obviously didn't come with the truck. It's very apparent what the original truck part is when it's on the newer or newish alternator. So you take that off and put it on the new alternator. Then you're going to come back over here and you're going to replace this exactly how you took it out. So one kind of troubled spot I was having is whenever I took this alternator out, these hoses were getting in my way. So much so that this hose came undone and coolant started spewing everywhere. I was like, oh my god, like that kind of crap, that's bound to happen to me. So what I had to do was I had to loosen this, put the hose back on, put the connector or the clamp closest or closer to the end and retighten it, get it out of the way. But one way that I was trying to put this back on is almost exactly how it looks now. I was trying to slide it in exactly how it looks now, and it wasn't fitting. This little area down here, the part that was on the old alternator that you transferred to the new alternator that I was talking about a second ago, it just wasn't fitting. There wasn't enough room. So I tried hammering it down a little bit, and then I realized, man, I had rotated this thing before I pulled it out. So that's exactly what I had to do. I had to start in a rotated position, set it in to where those little areas lined up, and then rotate it into this bracket right here. If that made any kind of sense, I hope it did, but that's one troubled area I was having. So after I put that back in, what I did was I put this bolt in, the long bolt. You can either keep that in and then just slide it into this little part down here once you get it in place, but I found it was easiest just to put it in after the fact. So I put that in, and then I put the new bolt in right here, which this came with the new alternator. You also have your old one if you want to use that one, but I got a new one, so I used it. I put that in place and I just kind of secured it for the time being. I didn't worry about my belt or anything like that for the moment, but I just put it in there to keep this in place. So when I did that, I went ahead and plugged everything back in, put my hot terminal back on, and then this is the kind of the tricky part, what I ended up having to do. So I ended up having to pull this as much this way as I could while putting a socket on this bolt right here and tightening it. Obviously I didn't really want it as loose as it could possibly be to where I had to tighten it, you know, 3 or 4 times going that way, because this thing's heavy, and especially when it has force going the opposite way of what you're pulling, it's really heavy. So I ended up getting to this side of the engine bay, and with my left hand I pulled as tight as I could and then tightened. And then I ended up a couple more times, like, you know, loosening it a little bit and then trying to tighten as much as I could. But yeah, so that's how you do the belt. Obviously you put the belt back on before you do any of that tightening. That's kind of a given, but in case somebody didn't know that. That is how I went about changing the alternator. I tried to make that, trash guy, I tried to make that as clear as possible, but I'll tell you what, if you've never changed an alternator and this is your first time, it's going to take you a little bit more time than normal. So give yourself some more time, give yourself some grace. This took me about an hour, hour and a half to do, mainly because I could not, one, figure out what bolts to undo to take it out, because the 1 or 2 videos I had watched about doing this, they were removing the whole bracket and these bolts were not coming off. So I ended up kind of changing my plan, just taking this out, which that's how you're supposed to do it in the first place. I had trouble getting it back in, and that's when I had to rotate it and slide it in and then rotate it back. But yeah, that is it. I hope that was kind of clear. It's really kind of difficult to explain, but like I said, give yourself time, give yourself some grace if this is your first time doing it. I swear if I had to do this again, it'd probably take me like 20-25 minutes. Like, that's how easy it is, but just there's a learning curve, obviously, especially if you've never done it. The battery was completely dead, as you saw from the clip previously, so I had my jump start box right here. I ended up hooking it up and jump starting the truck, and then I started the truck, let it run for 10-15 minutes, and then you just saw a second ago, alternator's working, doing its job, so it started right up. Next steps, I'm gonna end up probably having my dad help me with a crowbar to tighten this thing up, or at least have 2 hands on this while somebody's tightening the bolt right here. I'm so glad for that to be done. This alternator right here, I think ran me 60 bucks. It has a 2-year warranty. It's not the best of the best, but I don't plan really, like I said, on keeping this truck for a horribly long amount of time. $60 part, obviously labor was free. I learned how to do it. I just had a friend pay like 600 bucks to get one in her Honda CRV, or her Honda Pilot, sorry. And it's like a 10 or 12-year-old car. So I'm glad I could save myself a couple $100. I hope you guys can too. I hope this was explained well enough, and I apologize if it wasn't. It really is hard to explain once you're kind of going back and recapping the steps, but I hope it was clear enough. That is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. That helps. For more C10 content, GTI content, like, subscribe. Yeah, that is it. I appreciate it.